The next problem involves zeros. They want to know what are the zeros of this polynomial function and what is the multiplicity of each zero and the behavior of the graph at each zero. So we can actually think of these inside of the parentheses as separate things going on. If we set those factors equal to 0 and solve them, we will find the zeros. So in other words, if we set x minus 1 equal to 0 and solve for x, we get a 0 of the function, which is 1. A 0, another word for 0 is x-intercept. So those are points that the function goes through. The x plus 2, if you set that equals 0 and solve it, you get a 0 of x equals negative 2. And x minus 4, if you set that equal to 0 and solve it, you get x equals 4. So we found the zeros. We just need to find out their multiplicity. Now, multiplicity means how many of those zeros did we get? And we can find that out by the exponent. So this is really if x minus 1 times x minus 1, if we have x minus 1 to the power 2. So that means if we set both of those equal to 0, we would get this 0, x equals 1. Its multiplicity is 2. Now the x plus 2, that factor, when we set it equal to 0, we get the 0, x equals negative 2, and it has multiplicity 3. And the x minus 4 has an invisible 1 power, so its multiplicity is 1. Okay, so how does that impact the graph? Whenever we have an even multiplicity, the graph touches that 0 and turns around. Whereas if we have an odd multiplicity, it crosses through the graph. So at x equals 1, we have an even number for the multiplicity, and therefore the graph is going to touch x equals 1 and turn around. And if you were to graph this equation by just changing p of x to y and plugging this whole function into a graphing calculator, you would see that at x equals 1 on the x-axis that it touches the graph and turns around. And again, that's because it has multiplicity 2, and 2 is an even number. So a lot of times they just call that touches it and turns. At x equals negative 2, we have a multiplicity that's an odd number. And same with x equals 4, we have an odd number. Whenever we have odd multiplicity, it doesn't touch that 0 and turn around. It crosses the x-axis at that point. So the behavior at the 0, x equals negative 2, is that the graph will cross x equals negative 2. The same is true for x equals 4. It will cross the graph at x equals 4. I encourage you to try all these problems again and see if you can verify them on your own. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe for more math tips.